Hello and welcome, one and all. My name is Zoe Schwind, and I have the utmost pleasure of hosting this Overwatch 2 developer live stream where we want to talk about the upcoming Overwatch 2 beta,
Peter
the
mode?
alpha, and
I
the
didn't
general
even
approach
I
to
didn't even
content as well as communication.
know what's
And
going
joining me
on.
to answer some of the many questions I know that we all have after the most
ask
recent
him things in the
developer
five, get
update
these.
are no other than
And
Aaron
Kaz
Keller,
things in 203
game
months.
director, Jeff Goodman, lead hero designer, and John Spector, commercial leader.
Oh,
Thank you
I
guys
love
so
John.
much for,
John is a
taking
great
time to
human.
chat
I love
with me
John.
today. I am just so excited to have you all on for this show. Now, last week, or the last weeks even, must have been pretty emotional for you guys and your teams as well. How are we feeling today?
Well, first, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today, and for everyone that's watching for taking the time to watch. We're so excited to talk to everyone and to continue with our communication. And the team is really excited right now. It's been a long time since we've been able to talk about this, and it's been even longer since we've been in this position where we have people playing a development build of Overwatch. Like, people in the public are doing that right now, and it's so fun to watch.
I thought you guys wanted to see chat.
Interact with those people and hear.
You guys
all
keep
of
seeing
the
full screen.
feedback that they
When I
have,
asked, everyone
and
said
then
theater
all the
mode.
amazing conversations that it spurs on the team. It's just an exciting place to be in.
Yeah, I think exciting is putting it almost mildly. It's also, I always say, like, when the first time the public of any kind gets to see your game, it's almost more exciting when you actually ship it, because it's like the first interaction you get and the kind of feedback you're getting. And man, it's been a flurry of feedback. It's been great. We've been reacting pretty aggressively.
Yeah, I'm the new guy on this team now, having just moved over from Overwatch League a couple months ago. But I think just seeing what it's meant to a lot of the people on the team who have been working on this for years to now be able to show that to
I'm just telling you right
players.
now,
We're a month
John,
change away from being able to do
being
that.
in this
The beta
position
has
with how
just
smart he
been
is,
amazing. And for me personally, it's just so exciting.
Overwatch is going to make all the
have the
right
chance to talk a
business
little bit more
decisions.
about
Let me
what
tell
we're
you.
planning to do.
I know it
Well,
will.
I can't wait to chat about not only the announcements made during the developer update, but also, pick your brains about some first impressions regarding the Overwatch 2 alpha, which is up and running as we speak. But let's take a few steps
Crap,
back
are you here?
to find out how
Let
we
me mute the sounds on alerts, but still let alerts play.
Slash schedule, I guess, with Overwatch 2. When and why did you guys decide to more or less split the game in two?
So that's a really good question. And
Thanks, Zad.
it
Appreciate
is
the 8 months.
something we have talked about a lot, especially recently and over the last year. And I think to like really put it in perspective, it's important to talk about two values that are core to development for Overwatch. And the first is to always be delivering regular content to the game, and updating it and keeping it feeling fresh and exciting. And
there you go, Aaron. Let's go.
I think that this is a value. It's not just an Overwatch value. It's a value that all of Blizzard shares, and it's to release a game when we feel like it's ready, and when we feel like it's great. And
this is very.
You take those two values, and then in light of the team kind of choosing this strategy to focus on Overwatch 2. And to put a lot of resources into the campaign and the hero mode for that side of the game, it left the live service with less focus. And by doing that, it put us in like this really difficult position. So we could either and it put us in a difficult position because like those two sides of the game were now like tied together. So like Overwatch live support was now tied to development on Overwatch 2 systems and features. And that's it's a difficult spot to be in, because suddenly you have like these two core values that aren't aligning with each other anymore. Is it like, hey, let's just get Overwatch 2 out as fast as we possibly can,
should I mute alert?
So that we can start supporting the live game some more, but before we actually think it's ready? That it goes against everything that
I don't know if you're able to do it.
Blizzard
Just like
stands
leave the alerts
for,
still play, just no sound.
or is it, hey, let's keep working on Overwatch 2 and release everything when we think it's great, and have this gap stretch on longer and longer, and we couldn't do that. So in essence, us kind of like splitting both sides of the game from each
Jeff
other
looks like he's in an
is a way
insane
for us to
asylum.
start addressing this problem. Like I love this
does
company. There's
actually.
like so many talented people here. I've been working here almost 20 years.
Actually
And, like,
does.
and one of the reasons that I'm here is because I feel like when Blizzard releases a game, it's going to be great. It's going to be amazing, and that it's also going to have a high level of support to it. And so I think pulling these two parts of the game away from each other is our way of addressing all of that, keeping those
Can't be any
core
leaks if he's in the
values,
bathroom,
at the same time, and still being able to deliver an amazing experience for Overwatch 2.
Yeah, and I think the feedback to that strategic move has been overarchingly very, very positive. I know we're all so excited to see everything which has been shared from you guys last week.
For the love of God, just show some
there has
gameplay.
been a big
Shut the fuck up,
communication
dude. Have some
about, you know,
patience. It's
Overwatch
important to
in
hear the
past.
part behind it before you see it.
So how will your team ensure that things will be different now? Like how frequent should
Everyone
or
in chat
can
is
we,
excited to listen.
actually
So,
expect some
play along.
meaningful communication updates heading our way?
Yeah, it's not an excuse, but is sort of more of an explanation. I think part of the reason why we didn't do as good of a job over the last several months in communicating as we wanted to was as we were sort of making this shift in strategy that Aaron just talked about, it's sort of challenging to talk about that until you figured out exactly how we were going to land that plan, our ability to deliver against it, and all of those things. And so I think the whole team understands that collectively we needed to do a better job. And going forward, we need to do a better job of communicating with our players. We made that renewed promise in the update that Aaron shared last week.
Yep.
And I think there's still some skepticism, right? Of, well, they've said this before. Do you actually mean it this time? Our hope is that we're here a week later, coming back and talking to players again, sharing more information, talking about how the alpha
Keeping on the promise, which is huge.
All of that stuff, really in that spirit of we made that promise, we intend to keep it, and even going forward as we look toward our first beta test, our goal really is even between now and then to be coming out regularly with more information about what players can expect there and continuing to respond to questions where we can. So we know that we need to prove it. I think this
have
is
it maxed out.
Hopefully a good first step in that direction, but we have work to do.
Same loudness for me for you
Yeah,
guys.
definitely a trust building exercise, but on the right track right here. I'm so glad that all three of you are joining me for a chat today. Now, we did also hear a commitment to delivering more content, but that that leaves some people a little bit worried, a little bit scared with the question: has the team grown to a point where it is suddenly able to actually support that increase in content?
Yeah, that's an interesting thing to talk about. The original Overwatch team, when the game shipped, it was like between 60 or 70 people, and it was really small. And we did quickly start growing as we started adding more features to the game. But we're talking about a much bigger experience now, and we're talking about adding
60 to 70 people is small, yes. In a AAA title, that's very small.
Have in the past, especially the past few years, and to do it just takes more people, And so we have been growing, we have been expanding. We're over 200 people now, and we're going to.
Am I crazy, or is that still small?
On top of that, and we're working on a new big thing, right? And we talk about Overwatch 2 a lot, but like I kind of feel like we have the Overwatch team 2.0 as well. It's this collection of like amazingly talented individuals that all had a love for Blizzard and a love for Overwatch, and a desire to come and help create more things for this game. And we are so lucky to have all of them. And at the same time, we've still have like this amazing core of people, that helped ship the first game. Like all of the directors on our team, or most of them, were all there for the inception of the original game. We have
someone's
like
dog.
multiple designers.
I feel like
on
it's
this
so
team that
easy.
have all
She
been at
looks like
Blizzard
she's like,
for over
oh.
20 years, including Jeff Goodman, and bring like this incredible amount of sort of like
That's gotta be
experience
her
and
dog.
knowledge of
It
the
has to be.
game.
I don't know if she has a
with
dog or
them.
not, but
And,
that's my guess.
and so yeah, so the team
Joanna's
is growing.
cat. So who
and
is
it's
it?
important for us to
Is it
keep growing, and
Jeff's?
it's all
I
because
don't have
we
dogs
want
in the
to
state
be able
asylum.
to support the game as much as we possibly can.
There's certainly no lack of talent on this team or any team at Blizzard, really. And I can see our chat is also complimenting our ability to stare into the camera. We're very good at that. What can you say? Like just the deadpan
doesn't take
stares. It's perfection at this point. It really is. Now, Aaron, I heard you saying life service earlier. This is something we hear you guys mention quite a bit in the past as well. But what does life service actually mean to the Overwatch team and to Overwatch itself?
Beautiful question.
Yeah, so live service, I get that it's sort of like an industry label or an industry term, and
Knock it out.
the way that we kind of talk about it internally is more of Overwatch being a living game, and I think there's a bunch of components to that.
Please,
So
Darren, why
we
did
want
you
the
say
game
that?
to feel like it has like a regular heartbeat to it. And some of that just comes with regular updates to the game. And we want
So are you saying because there's no updates for Overwatch?
expect more content
It's
coming,
not
and even a lot of
alive
times expect
anymore.
the type of content that's going to be coming to the game.
No.
And, when we do that and we do it right, I feel like it is always keeping the game fresh, and it's also like changing the game. So especially like different types of things that we release, from like new maps to new game modes, and especially new heroes, things like that.
True.
Actually change the way that the game is played.
100%. But I can't believe he just declared Overwatch 1 dead. I'm in shambles.
That's really exciting for players. And
honestly, I'm gonna need a clip of that later. Someone go back and clip that for me.
Even talk about the past a little bit, like when we kind of like pulled some of our pulled focus away from Overwatch 1 as we were developing Overwatch 2, we stopped releasing heroes to the game, and there was this consensus that Overwatch was maybe in one of the best balance places that it had ever been in, but people still wanted there to be changes to the game. And when we make like balance changes to the game or any type of change, we always want that to be something that's elevating the game and making it better. And we're in like this really awkward position of like, well, the game's in like a really great spot, but people want changes to it. And when you think about further back in the past, when we were releasing more heroes to the game, that wasn't really the problem. The meta was always changing. There was always like different strategies that were happening because there was just enough being added to the game that it felt like this living experience and this thing that people would
not in the last like 2 years.
And there's other types of content in there too. Like if you think about some of the features that we've released since launch of the game, like right after we launched, we released the competitive system. We released the arcade and crossplay. All of those things kind of change the way people think about and play the game. And so part of like a living game and a living experience is to continually be releasing content and features like that. And then like the last part about that is we always want the game to have a connection to the real world and to kind of reflect what's happening in the real world. We love that our game is set actually on Earth, and that people are able to relate to a lot of the different heroes and locations that we have there. But we also like to update it with things like a Halloween event or a Lunar New Year event, things that actually represent parts of our everyday experiences. And so like continuing to add pieces of content like that and updating those is all part of a living game, or like our interpretation of what a live service game is.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, as happy as I am to play Junkenstein Revenge for the next 10 years of my life, I do also appreciate new content coming our way. Now, I want to shift gears. I want to talk about the alpha as well as the upcoming beta. We know the alpha is up and running, the beta just on the horizon. What are your main goals for the alpha as well as the beta? What kind of performance benchmarks, I guess, did your team set yourself for either of those two?
Yeah, I
Well, for
honestly I can't
me
believe
and
she
my
said
team,
that.
you know, we're very focused on hero balance. I like that Aaron just said the game was perfectly balanced a little bit ago. That's actually that went over really well.
Yeah, all right. Jeff's
The
at least
alpha's
self-aware.
not
That
quite
was
that way yet, I
that
will
was an
say.
awful take.
But, you know, we made a ton of changes, so certainly 5v5 and a bunch of reworks and stuff has just caused like mass chaos. And especially because, you know, we're in a place where we've played the game ourselves for a long time now, and you know we have our own sort of internal meta, which is always very different than the external meta, especially when the game hasn't been out. So it sort of like pretty quickly got a lot of feedback about a lot of stuff that was pretty overpowered. So you know we have been reacting really quickly and trying to get some changes out there, but it's been super exciting.
Not looking at it now,
I think that
Nameless.
there's
Just saying.
a lot of interesting things that are happening now that other people are playing it, and Jeff was alluding to it. But there's also like a lot of different skill levels that are in the alpha too. So um, we don't have Overwatch League players on the development team, and
John
so
Silent is common sense
to
for
be able to
Blizzard.
see
No.
the way that they play the
No.
game.
Jeff is a big problem around
Is
the balancing, I think,
fascinating.
too.
It's almost like we get two sets of feedback
Because
sometimes,
we have
or a spectrum of feedback.
it's actually, I mean,
for
that's
our
not
game
fair,
because it
depending on what they did
plays
with
pretty
Overwatch 1.
differently
We'll see.
between like
Jeff was good when I worked with him.
skills to high
but
skills, and then like that
the
upper
live service game, the
echelon
way that's been
of
balanced, is just
skill
a
that's
disgrace.
there, you know, like you think about the aim, like, and the precision that some of these people play with, it really affects some of the like decisions and the way that we think about the game. And so like it's great to get all of the feedback, but it's also nice to get like a new perspective from people as well. And it's something that we're not really
Are you talking
able
about
to
the
get
pros
on the
having
team,
it?
and now we're able to get as we're watching like a whole new set of players jump into the game, and it's really helping us.
When did we get here?
fine-tune
Did
some
he
of
just
the,
like just started
some of
talking
the
about it, or he
balance
just
pieces that we're looking at?
Yeah, I mean, with actually all due respect to my colleagues on the dev team, like playing against Jake on the alpha is a different experience. That happened to me like 3 matches in a row the other night. Thanks, Jake. And it's like there's some of that's really helpful, I think, particularly for the folks on the design side of things. There's also a bunch of like
yeah. Now I see why we complain about certain things.
for the alpha and the upcoming beta of like
Y'all don't understand until you step in that fucking high top 500 ring.
Matchmaking systems.
That shit gets fucking tough.
There's a whole bunch of things where changing systems under the hood like we have, and moving to 5v5 and what impact does that have on our queue times and how we do matchmaking and all of those types of things, where it's sort of a little bit less like in your face as a player than, hey, there's a new hero, or we've reworked some of the other heroes or changed balance. But it's also really important for our team.
Yeah, I guess the more data points you can collect from every angle, the better the end result will be. Now, of course, also the more feedback you get, the more comprehensive your feedback is. So I do wonder, how are people actually chosen for the alpha and beta? How do you choose who should come in to give you feedback and who shouldn't?
Yeah, so for the alpha, it's the vast majority of players in there are actually our fellow Blizzard employees. And then we have this group of Overwatch League pros, basically some of like our family members, like my little brothers in the alpha. And I think for
cute.
a lot of the members of the dev team, being able to invite in even just 1 or 2 of their friends is really cool. And then there's a small handful of others, but it really is this pretty tight group. And again, the spirit of the alpha is to go from just a couple hundred of us testing up to several thousand people when you include Blizzard employees in there, and really to be able to then get enough feedback over this period where by the time that we launch the beta, we've had the opportunity.
Y'all think John will adopt
a couple of passes at addressing bugs and other types of things like that, some balance changes that we can talk more about, that type of stuff. For the beta, honestly, we've been blown away by just the
No, it's an alpha right now. Beta's not out.
I think I speak on behalf of all of the 4 people on our server and website team. They were prepared too, and it still crashed the server. So we've just been honestly, all of us, I think, humbled and genuinely feeling really grateful seeing the positive response to that. I think later today or in a little bit, we're actually going to be able to update the beta sign-up site with an FAQ for players that talks a little bit more about how we plan to select players in the beta, what that process will look like. But our goal, I think, broadly for the first beta is to bring in players in a broad range of skill levels, a broad range of regions, different system configurations, like some people with the new graphics card and some people without, and those types of things. Just again, in that spirit of having a broad and representative test as we continue to roll out this content and get a chance for players to get their hands on it and for our team to get all of that feedback.
Yeah, no surprises at all that the website crashed. So you're trying to be prepared, but just can't be. Just never be prepared for that. Now you said broad spectrum. I saw some people in chat asking already, and obviously all over the internet, console players. Will they be able to get their hands on the
console
beta?
mega
Will they have a chance to try it out before it goes live?
So for this first beta, we are keeping it to PC only. But while I can't really get into the details of it now, like we do want to include console players at a future point in our beta testing program, and we're working toward doing that.
All right. Well, that's good to know.
What are you gonna do? Fucking fight with no aim assist?
We know that our players, our pro players, are currently wilding out in the alpha. Can you speak to what the reception and feedback from them has been like so far? Like how extensive, helpful, or even eye-opening that kind of feedback from that pro has been for you guys?
I hope they've been absolutely dicking on them.
Been like surprising, and in some ways it hasn't, I guess. I'm really happy at just the amount of feedback we're getting. It's just been great. It's sort of we have these channels open to communication. There's like a flood of information. I'm kind of disseminating it to my team. We're deciding what to do all the time, but it's been really amazing seeing what they do with the reworks, and they pretty quickly called out things that were kind of overpowered that we were worried about. So that I guess that's good and bad. Obviously Sojourn's in there, and she's kind of based on this railgun. So, I mean, that's a hyper accurate, high damage weapon. Obviously the pros are going to be pretty good with that. So, something we were worried about and pretty much immediately came to light. So, originally when we were looking at this alpha, we weren't sure how many times we were going to be able to update it. We thought maybe we would just be able to, put it out there and gather a lot of feedback and then maybe move on to beta. But pretty quickly we were just like, okay, we need to patch. We need to make updates to this. We need to respond. We need to iterate. So
that's actually really good.
Do that. I think we just had our first big balance patch today. Actually,
imagine they get a bunch of feedback. Like, all right, we'll fix it on the next one, and then they it didn't fix it.
It's really helpful.
That happens all the time.
Sort of to get that new, fresh eyes on everything, especially the pros, and seeing what comes out of it.
Yeah, and
it's really different when fucking
some,
pros
really
are actually
interesting, pieces of feedback too, and from the dev team, and even from a lot of the people that are playing in the alpha right now, there's so much positive feedback. A lot of it even around 5v5, where it feels like there's the pace of the game. It's not crazy fast, but it's sped up a little bit. They're getting stuck at chokes, especially behind something like a double barrier, less than they were before. It feels like there's more space to move around the map. And then a lot of times, you'll look at some of the Overwatch League players, and there's some of that's happening, but it's at like a different level. So when there's only one tank, and when there's a lot less CC out on the battlefield, because that's some of the changes that we've made here also. Sometimes like a tracer can get into the back line and just wreak havoc because it doesn't feel like there's as much that supports can do. There's not like an off tank that's peeling. There's not other like members of the team that can sort of like counter some of the abilities that.
Wait, what does the support player do then?
Like you'll see some of the heroes that we have, especially some of the flanking heroes like Tracer and Reaper are now like really dangerous back there. And we started getting support that's like, hey, it feels like, or we started getting feedback that it feels like our support heroes are unsupported, and that it's just that they need some work there. And we think that feedback's right. And so we're looking into it, and we're hoping to preserve all of the things that we think make 5v5 great, but also be able to kind kind of cater it to this high skill audience, and kind of merge all of that together.
So how do you look into that kind of stuff? Like,
That
what
was
does
kind of
the
how original supports
process
were. They
for
kind of just got
feedback
fucked
when it
on.
comes to balance changes or concerns, especially? How does that process look like?
I mean, like usual, we get a lot of feedback from a lot of different sources, but we do have like a main channel of feedback where we get kind of from everybody, which is kind of nice that it's centralized. But a lot of it's looking at different people's perspectives and how they're playing it and trying to get context. I mean, we're in direct communication with people. It's not just like a one-way street where they're just sending us stuff. A lot of times we're asking questions about how they're playing it or what maps they're playing on and stuff like that to sort of get better context. But
Sure.
a lot of the stuff that Aaron mentioned is sort of been consistent feedback. For example, that supports feel like they're just really hard to survive. Basically, they're just getting dove on. The meta is really, really fast, for better or for worse. We knew it would be faster, that's for sure, but it's definitely kind of this like super dive right now almost. So, I mean, that's something we have this opportunity now to make these changes and iterate on the game and make sure it's in a place where everyone's going to be happy with it.
Right on. Well, I do wonder how frequent the bug fixes are currently in the alpha. Or I guess what I'm asking, what does the turnaround time from feedback / complaint to the fix look like at the moment?
I mean, it sort of depends. We actually had technically, like I said, we had the first patch today, but actually that's not even really true. We had a really small patch, I think, on Monday. So we've been able to patch, at least in this case, twice in 1 week, which is pretty nice. But yeah, so I mean, a lot of it depends on not necessarily sort of the tech side and how often we could patch and sort of QA things. A lot of it's sort of getting the feedback and discussing it and talking about what we want to do and how crazy do we want to try things. Sometimes it's we're trying we have a patch or two to try really, really crazy things, and if we
I was hoping for an example
and try to make small changes, maybe we won't get anywhere useful. But if we make like a big change that you think is maybe even too strong, that's more sort of powerful feedback that you can combine with other feedback, and you can get a lot more get at the changes you really need, even if you think that change isn't going to be maybe what you want. So we did some pretty wild stuff today. We'll see how it plays, but that's kind of how we've been sort of trying to get at it.
Does that mean like they literally had an update today?
Make changes as much as possible, because iteration is really
when the pros get it.
We really get at like
a week ago,
good balance and where the fun really is.
Yeah, we also have this,
so they gave them an update in a week. Yo, that's
there's
big.
The balance changes, and then again,
big.
There's like quality of life making
huge.
One of the goals.
I know all hands are on deck for the alpha, but like,
the beta,
imagine we got a patch every week or two.
Some of the bugs that people are talking about that have impacted their experience, and our QA team has been doing an amazing job of like logging literally everything, and then it's sort of a like, how important is this thing to fix tomorrow? And some of the bugs are just like downright funny. I actually sort of wish we hadn't fixed some of them. Someone reported
why does Aaron look so annoyed?
Dude,
Aaron can't win right now. When he was looking at the camera, everyone said he's staring at the camera. Now he's trying not to look at the camera anymore and look more natural, and people said he looks annoyed. Let the man live.
Through the door. But there's like a whole bunch of that stuff that again,
Blizz, thanks for the 5 gifts, man. I appreciate it. Can we show some love for Blizz?
Multiple times already been able to update the build and address things like that are a little more quality of life.
It's definitely chaotic.
Go ahead.
I was just comment on that. It's definitely chaotic to try to get, me and my team trying to get these balance changes in and test. We usually try to run some internal tests too to make sure we're not doing something like really broken. And then of course QA, we're getting bug fixes from the tech side and everything. We're trying to like corral everything into one patch really quickly as fast as possible at the end. So it's pretty chaotic sometimes, but I think we're getting there.
Yeah, and it's the same thing with bugs. We're trying to hit all of the most egregious ones first. So we were able to jump on that Winston issue immediately, but there's
what's the Winston issue?
We had
did they say something?
We were missing
I missed
all of Sojourn's VO lines in the alpha. We didn't know when she ulted. She was just like this silent hero on the field. And people started saying like,
he didn't fit through a door.
It's like too quiet. I'm not really hearing it.
Monkey.
And other people are like, I don't think I heard it all. And we investigated it, and this was maybe like an hour into the alpha launching. It's like, oh, whoops, they're all missing. And we're even getting feedback even down to like really small things like, hey, the particle effects on this fountain aren't coming out of like the person's mouth. They're coming out of like their forehead, and they'll include like screenshots and movies of it. So it's been really.
I mean, my kind of nitpicky feedback.
It's good. You need that.
That's kind of fun.
It's always hard as a player, right, to figure out like, is this a feature or a bug? Like, is this meant to play that way, or is this actually something I should be reporting? Now, obviously,
All right, so he's kind of killing it. I'm not gonna lie.
But, have there been any surprising revelations so far regarding the new content which is featured in the alpha? Looking at the new game mode push, for example, or some of the hero reworks, the new maps, or maybe just to switch to 5v5?
There's definitely been a lot of surprises on the hero side. I mean, there's some stuff that I mean, this is like the opposite of answering your question, sort of, but it's in some ways where I was really happy to see some confirmation too, because we had been playing internally for a long time, and like I said, our internal meta is obviously very different a lot of times, and so we were not always super confident in it. But we heard a lot of concerns when we talked about 5v5 originally that only main tanks were going to really be viable. Probably like Reinhardt. Like, how do you not play Reinhardt in that situation, for example, or something?
I think Reinhardt's going to be terrible.
Like, man, it really kind of feels like the opposite. Like, we're a little worried for Reinhardt, and we're a little like feeling like Diva and Zarya and are really strong. And so we just sort of like, well, I guess we'll see what happens when we put this in other people's hands. And that that's one example where it turned out that pretty much they agree that Reinhardt's maybe a little weak, and sort of the off tanks are actually kind of running the show right now. So that, I mean,
especially Doomfist.
Yeah, right.
You should talk about Doomfist a little
You mean
bit.
like the live game?
He's strong.
So Doomfist, probably one of the bigger reworks certainly is switch roles so that he's a tank now. So that's it's really been super interesting getting feedback on that, because we haven't done that very often. Technically not the first time. Symmetra used to be support.
Well, that's confirmed at least.
Originally. Way back in the day. But so yeah,
Doom's a tank confirmed. There was a leak that came out the other day, but I guess they just said, fuck it, we're confirming it now.
I was really scared to see what kind of feedback we're going to get, because it's so different. He's a little strong right now, so I don't know how much of the super positive feedback is coming from how strong he is, but I was really worried about him in particular, because there are certain heroes in our game that have
I'm really nervous though that they couldn't figure out that off tank was going to be much stronger than the main tank based on the main game.
Distance yourself from that, especially heroes like Tracer and Genji and Doomfist, like the high mobile heroes like that. So Doomfist is definitely one of those. They have the dedicated fan base, but from what we've gotten feedback on so far from the dedicated Doomfist players that we have, they're generally really excited for it, and they're really happy even with the role change.
I haven't seen the Arista stuff. I got on like 10 minutes before this.
To nerf him a little bit, but
so maybe we'll see it today.
Like everything else.
Oh, but
I want to find out how these changes happen. Like someday a dev shows up and he often's like, "How
get my second coffee?
He's a tank."
I want to see what's her question.
Yeah, well, I mean, to speak to that actually is to kind of why it went that way. I think it's interesting. Part of one of the major sort of overarching changes we were trying to get at for the combat of the game is to just reduce crowd control effects a lot. So a lot less stuns, especially hard crowd control effects. So, we're looking at Mei, and we changed how Mei's freeze work, because it only works on our ult now and stuff like that. And those are kind of like low-hanging fruit things that we can change. And then it comes to a hero like Doomfist, you're like, well, what do we do? This guy's sort of built on crowd control. So we either needed to basically go in there and change probably a lot of his kit, or like really reduce crowd control on how he functioned, which is hard, sort of a combo-based hero, or move into a tank role. And the tanks are where we're kind of allowing the crowd
2 cold brews today
to exist. So we could sort of
awake and ready to go
a lot of his feel for his kit in that role.
Today's Streameroni.
So that's kind of what we ended up going with, and it worked out really well. So, but as Aaron mentioned earlier, it has led to some scary issues with heroes that we knew were going to be maybe problematic because they're kept in check by crowd control, like Tracer, Genji, Reaper. So we had some plans to, had some things in place to sort of reduce their power, but it clearly wasn't enough. So we're still working on that.
Yeah, it's been like really interesting to watch a lot of that too, and like Doomfist in particular, like he kind of illustrates the way we've been trying to handle the CC abilities in game.
No, you can't.
It's by moving them, as many of them, into the tank role as we can.
Chill.
And
we're watching
part
this
of that
first.
is because
Relax.
It kind of, because there's only one tank on the battlefield now, it reduces how many are out there, and also like. For tank players, we would get feedback that sometimes it just felt like you were in a pinball machine, as you're on the front line and you're getting hit by the crowd control abilities of like all 6 heroes, on the enemy team. And so it just kind of
That's why main tank's terrible right now. That's the whole point.
Them there. And so like it made a lot of sense to move Doomfist that way. But at the same time, like he was like such a fast hero that and he could be all over the place sometimes. And so like we did a little bit to slow him down. He's still very mobile, like
how much
there's been a change to his kit, and we'll go into like more details of like the change to his kit and to Riss's kit later. But like at this point, like
we're gonna see those today.
Has a leap that's similar to a Winston's leap to get in, and so like his ability to initiate some of these fights is actually pretty amazing, and also like the cause of some of the issues that he has, like imagine a Doomfist that's able to get in, is more survivable than he used to be, and also has like
we're emailing Blizzard customer support to ask for beta access in exchange for cookies and pet pictures.
A lot less damage though.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. Right. So okay, yeah. So don't imagine that.
You're scaring people.
I mean, honestly, like it's also always depends on who is playing that Doomfist. If I'm playing the Doomfist on your server, you have nothing to be worried about. I mean, leaping in there, and then I'm just kind of and now.
I mean, that is
there's that. Now I want to talk about another brand new feature, which has not been getting quite as much spotlight so far, which is the ping system. I personally love it, but I would love to hear your thoughts on the process, why you felt this is necessary to be added. Like, what were you hoping to improve or fix with the ping system?
Yeah, so the ping system has actually been great, and I agree with you. There's moments there where it feels like it changes the way you play the game or think about the game. And there's a lot of reasons to do a system like this. Not everybody wants to communicate using voice comm. And our game's obviously too fast to be able to strategize over like in-game chat. Like that's obviously not going to work. And then a ping system also, a lot of times it can be more precise even than voice can be, because it will use real world locations or in-game real world locations, and also like in-game context too. And so like to talk about that a little more, like the ping system that we're doing, it's very context sensitive. So depending on what you're pinging, who your hero is, who like what the other enemy team is, can change a lot of those pings. So like some of like the really cool things in it are enemy players behind walls can't be pinged, you can't see them. But if they're revealed by Hanzo or Widowmaker, suddenly you can start pinging those targets. Or some heroes can actually remove pings from themselves. So like when Moira fades, removes ping on her. She just used an escape on it. You can ping non-heroes in the game, like Bob. And also it's like totally customizable. So not only is it context sensitive, but then we have something kind of similar to the comms wheel, where you can select the different pings that are more important to you. So you don't always have to use the context sensitive ping. You can use all sorts of other different ones. And so that's kind of like,
if you get pinged and you go behind LOS,
that are in there, but we've also got
tracks you.
A lot of like really great feedback.
I feel like it could
system.
cause some
Even
problems.
Simple things like, hey, it needs to be more responsive. The ping wheel needs to be more responsive. Just like clicking the world needs to be more responsive. So we're working on that. We also realize it's not quite noticeable enough. And what we have in there is kind of our first pass on it, but we're going to start kind of like,
did you say it would break if you broke LOS?
More there on like the visuals and the sound side of it. We're looking at more context.
Is it LOS of the person who pinged, or LOS of everyone?
Suggestion from one of our content creators to like for a support character, for them to actually have unique VO lines depending upon which support character is pinging. So like right now, if you're support and you ping, it'll say something like, come to me for healing. But wouldn't it be great if it was Anna and she said something like, get in line of sight so I can heal you? Or if it was Lucio saying like group up on me for healing and things like that. And so
God,
we're looking
please
into
no.
a lot of feedback like that. We're also
I would
fixing
hate
bugs.
that.
Like right now, you can use the ping system when you're dead, and you probably ought not to be able to do that. So it's been like a really like great addition to the game. We've gotten great feedback on it. And I'm super excited for it.
I'll just add too, like I think on the ping system, the conversation we just had about Doomfist, like a lot of these things obviously are a lot easier to show players versus us sitting here talking to all of you. I think just to address that sort of head on, we're a week into our alpha. This morning we significantly updated the balance for Orisa and for Doomfist and for a lot of these things. And so what we plan to do is, as we get a little bit closer to our April beta, we do plan to come back and say, hey, here's all of Doomfist's new kit. These are his new abilities. This is how much damage.
How are they just spamming it? I don't know.
These types of things, and we will show
I did say that there is going to be a.
The same is true on something like a ping system, where just more descriptive, and more just visual. What does this look like? Like we know that people most want to see that. It's a little bit of we're making significant changes through the alpha on these things, and we want to make sure that when we come out and we talk about the Orisa rework, it's explaining she has a javelin now as an aside, right? Like we just changed a lot of how that worked this morning in response to feedback. We want to make sure that we have probably one more crack at updating some of these really significant things before we come out with here's how all of that works and looks.
Exactly. So you gotta practice some patience. See, chat ain't usually that good about it. I know you all are just
fucking
dying to see
javelin
and features and like all the great things coming our way, but you have to wait a little longer for that. Now, the more we chat, of course, the more excited I get about watching, the first few official OWL matches and playing all that new content with my friends. Now, while I do love an air of mystery, and I still laugh about a good old Suntia meme, is there actually a specific date set for when the beta will officially hit the general public who have signed up for it?
April 26th. That's our plan.
Oh my god, I guessed that! I guessed that! I actually guessed that! I'm actually a fucking genius! Dude, I am literally a fucking genius! Let's go! Easy! Actually, easy! Oh my god, dude, I am the fucking prophet!
Be ready to wrap things up here. Aaron, I would like to hand it over to you for some last words to our community.
Yeah, sure.
Holy fucking shit.
Really exciting time.
Dude, I told you, I know their tendencies. I know shit before they do.
Forward to isn't just the alpha, but like
either that or John saw my tweets and then was like, let's make it the 26th. This
is going to be such
because that is a very John move. He would 100% do that.
We're so excited for it. We can't wait to bring you along for the journey. We can't wait to get in front of you more, talk about the game more, talk about some of the things.
No, my birthday's the 16th. Mine's April 16th, so it's not that. It'll be after.
Changes that we're doing. So thank you so much for watching, and have a great day. We can't wait to see you and play with you in the future.
So wait, now we're going to see the rework stuff? What? Wait, what? Yo, can you unmute alerts? Unmute alerts crap? My balls just went back up inside me. I have never gotten tugged that, like, dude, that felt like a fucking spring. But I guessed the date. But I had already guessed the date. I had already guessed it.
Thank you. All I want to say is I stand John White Peepo happy.
Yeah, I actually can't believe that just ended it.
I'm on
These guys
fire.
this is 6 months, dude. How am I feeling? Blue balled. Very.
I'm on fire.
I could have gotten more content going to get me a sandwich.
Thanks for the 9 months. Wait, why? Because they kept saying we're gonna show stuff later. I didn't know it meant later, like a different day. I thought it meant today. I thought. No reason. I know it's not their fault. I'm just, I'm kind of sad. But in all fairness, though, they did say they were going to be more communicative with us. It's only been a week. Only so much can be said. I guess we can kind of give them that. But I'll make this tweet. I gotta find my tweet from the other day. I I feel like I'm just stuck. I feel like I'm stuck, That was the last nail in the coffin for me. No optimism anymore. Nah. Stop being an overdramatic. Stop being overdramatic. That is peak overdramatic. That is literally the fucking peak. That is like you stubbed your toe while wearing fucking boots at the store, fell over, cried, called an ambulance, went there and started planning your funeral. Like, stop, dude. Please. Yes, was that a bit of a blue ball? Yeah, that was a hard fucking tug, and then you just let it fucking spring back up into you, and you're like, oh, Jesus, fuck, what the hell? But, to be fair, what we learned is there is communication that is happening between the pros who are playing, the beta testers that are playing, and the Overwatch team. So much so that they have actually got an update, an alpha update to balance the game in a week. But I don't care about what the pros think. Well, I don't care what you think, to be fair. If you don't care about what the pros think, here's the problem with that. You get Brig 2.0. If you disregard what good players say about the game, then you get Brig 2.0. The pros aren't normal players. Well, let me tell you something, buddy. Not everyone can be exceptional. Normal is normal for a reason. The world doesn't cater to you. If you want to be exceptional, you have to grind. You have to put in effort. You have to climb. Now, balancing a competitive shooter from the top down is the only way to do it. Otherwise, the game literally has no skill ceiling. It has no skill floor. Everyone loads up into the game and then flips a coin for who wins based on who has lower ping. Imagine that. Who wants to play a video game where there's no skill involved? You build it for the normal everyday player. And guess what? Everyone just plays 6v6 Brig. Everyone can heal themselves, do damage, heal their teammates, have 3 forms of stun, a great ultimate. Like, what are you, fucking high? That's not how competitive video games work. That's not how the real world works. You balance a competitive game from the top down because you don't want things being broken at the top level. But on the other hand, you don't want them to be no fun for people on the lower level. Finding that middle ground is hard, and you need both sets of people. If you play Valorant and you literally can't use a mouse, you're probably going to suck. No, like, that's just what's going to happen, and you're probably going to suck. And that's, it's not going to be fun for you. However, though, if somebody also plays Valorant and they have God aim, should they not be rewarded for the God aim? I'd say so. Now, does that mean the aim is everything? Nope. That's why you have the abilities like smokes and dashes and teleports and misdirection. Like, you have all these different abilities to try to bring another high level of play into it. So there's multiple levels you can bring in of strategy, gameplay, mechanics, stuff like that. Those are all things that make a good game. But to sit there and go, I don't care what the pros think. I'm not a pro. Exactly. So you'll play the fucking game and you'll have fun with it, but you won't be top rank. Nothing's wrong with that. Nobody said there isn't anything wrong with that. Video games are meant to be fun. But they're balancing the game and they're also trying to come up with fun stuff at the same time. The fun stuff is to make heroes fun to play and fun to play against. That is the goal of the development team and the beta or the alpha testers. The goal of the pros is to make the competitive shooter aspect a fair game. Because if it's not a fair game, what you don't understand is it's going to be kind of hard to believe for you. You aren't supposed to be GM. Just because you pick a character in the game and play it when it's broken, if you climb, that's a bad thing. It's a very bad thing. Because once that hero is nerfed, you have to come back down to your deserving rank. You're going to have to lose a lot of fucking games. You're not going to have fun. Your teammates aren't going to have fun. Everyone doesn't have fun. And that goes through all the fucking ranks. So, you don't care about the pros? I'm going to tell you something right now, dude. That is a very, very dangerous mindset. Because you're telling me you don't care about the opinions of others. You only care about yourself. You're selfish. You don't understand how to balance a game. You're wrong. And fuck off. Thank you. So, that being said, let's transition. Let's transition a little bit, shall we? Fuck, how many days are left till Overwatch 2? Is it 39?
I'm on fire!
Okay. Chat, if you hadn't noticed in the title, there was something called Overwatch, Command Overwatch League game giveaway. We're still going to be doing those today. But I got to load everything up.
Thank you.
I'm late to the stream, but hi chat, hi flats.
Hello. See that? Here's the thing. You might think the reaction is a little bit aggressive. You might think it's too over the top, whatever. But let me tell you, shit like that, flying, and letting people just spew their nonsense for so long, is genuinely how we get into the position we are in Overwatch 1. Now, it would be fixed if we had regular content updates, you know, but balancing from the bottom up is not how competitive games work. Like imagine in baseball if there was a rule where you can't throw a baseball, like you can't pitch it faster than 50 miles an hour. Think about that, right? Like people who, like kids who are like in like 5th to 6th grade, I think like can throw a fastball like average maybe like 40, 50 miles an hour. Like, you know what I mean? Like as like a great player, something in that range. Do you get what I mean? Isn't that softball? I don't think softball has a speed limit. Like if you can if you can literally do the same rotation, like the proper technique, like it doesn't have a speed limit, does it? But imagine that it had some type of limit, right? Because once it exceeded that number, it was too hard for the majority of players to hit. Is that fair in any way, shape, or form? Yeah, because it's trying to be friendly to the everyday human. But that's not how great is made. That's not exciting. That's not seeing people at peak performance. That's not seeing people compete at the highest level.